Right now, somewhere, a person is hiding how scared they feel, certain nobody can tell. 40,000 years ago, that secret fear was never actually a secret. No poker face. No hiding it. No way to switch off what your own body was broadcasting. So how did ancient humans survive predators that could literally smell their fear? And the truth is stranger than any horror story. Your body was sending signals you could not choose, and other creatures knew how to read them. Yet the very thing that should have gotten our ancestors killed is what saved them. Today we are going to decode the whole hidden language of fear, step by step. The chemical signal your sweat sends without your permission. The creatures that were reading the room before there was a room. The 3 layers of fear ancient humans learned the hard way. The deadly mistake of trying to outmuscle a predator instead of outsmarting it. And the strange gift hidden inside being so easy to read. The wolf that turned this terrifying skill into the beginning of friendship. Every part of this is grounded in real biology and real prehistory. Stay with me to the very end, because the last one will change how you think about fear forever. But first, you have to accept one uncomfortable fact about your own body. We like to think fear is private, a thing that lives inside your skull, your secret. It is not a secret. It never was. You have been broadcasting it your whole life. To dogs, to horses, to bees, to creatures that were reading the room long before there was a room. So let us go back, way back, to when reading that signal was the entire difference between morning and never. You wake up. The ground is cold under your spine. It is somewhere around 40,000 years ago in what we now call Europe, deep in an ice age that has no plans to end soon. There is no alarm. There is no roof. There is a gray light leaking through a gap in the rocks, and there is a sound you do not like. A low sound, out beyond the embers. Your heart does the thing hearts do. It speeds up. And in that exact second, something invisible happens to you that you did not choose. Your sweat glands open. Your breath gets shallow. A faint cloud of chemistry lifts off your body and drifts toward the trees. You think you are hiding. You are not hiding. You are announcing. Why does your body betray you like this? Why broadcast the one thing you most want to keep quiet? Because for most of life on Earth, fear was not embarrassing. Fear was useful. To everyone. Including the thing in the trees. The wolf out there does not need to see your face. It does not need to hear you whimper. Your body is already telling it the story. So here is the first ugly truth of the morning. You are afraid, and the predator knows. Then you stand up slow, every muscle clamped, trying to look like a rock that happens to have legs. Now you do the exact same thing in a parking garage at night when a stranger's footsteps speed up behind you. Same instinct. Same clamp. 40,000 years, zero upgrade. The thing in the trees turns out to be a wolf. Patient. Watching the fire, not you. Wolves did that. They watched our fires for a very long time before anything friendly came of it. You hold still. The wolf holds still. 2 nervous systems reading each other across the dark. And here is what the wolf is actually doing. It is not reading your thoughts. It is reading your motion, your posture, your sound, and yes, your smell. Predators are pattern machines. They are built to notice the one animal in the herd that moves wrong. The limping one. The twitching one. The one whose fear leaks out as hesitation. So your fear is a problem. Not because the wolf can taste your terror like a flavor. Because your terror makes you move like prey. You freeze too long. You flinch too sharp. You break and run at the wrong moment. The wolf has seen 10,000 frightened things, and it knows what the broken ones do next. Does the wolf know you are afraid? Wrong question. The wolf knows what afraid looks like. You happen to be doing it. Then your survival depended on hiding the tells. Slow hands, steady eyes, a body that lied to a predator about how scared it was. Now you call that a job interview, or a first date, or asking your boss for a raise. The predator changed. The skill did not. Let us talk about how this actually works, because the science is better than the myth. The myth says animals smell fear and attack. The truth is layered, and the layers matter. Layer 1 is real and chemical. When you are stressed, you release compounds in your sweat that are different from normal sweat. Researchers have isolated some of these. They have collected sweat from people doing terrifying things like first-time skydiving and sweat from people on a treadmill. The skydiver sweat and the exercise sweat are not the same. Other humans, sniffing both without knowing which is which, respond differently to them. The fear sweat lights up the threat processing parts of the brain. The amygdala wakes up. So humans smell human fear. We just do not do it consciously. We do it under the hood, the way you do not feel your liver working. Now scale that up to a wolf. A dog's sense of smell is somewhere between 10,000 and 100,000 times sharper than yours, depending on who is counting and which breed. What is a faint subconscious whisper to you is a shout to them. Your nervous fear suite is not a clue to a wolf. It is a paragraph. Then a frightened ancestor sweating by a campfire was leaking data straight into the nose of every predator downwind. Now your dog greets you at the door and somehow knows you had a bad day before you say a word. Same nose. Friendlier ending. Layer 2 is heart rate, and this one is wild. In a study with dogs and horses, animals were shown recordings of human faces and played human sounds. The dogs could match an angry face to an angry voice. They knew the two belonged together. They were not guessing. Horses did something even stranger. Researchers in England showed horses photos of angry human faces. The horses' heart rates jumped. They turned to look with their left eye, the eye wired to the brain's threat side. A horse looked at a photograph of a frowning human, and its body decided that was a problem. That is not a horse smelling anything. That is a horse reading a face it had never been taught to read. Why would a horse care about a human's mood? Because we domesticated horses around 5,500 years ago on the steppes of Central Asia, and ever since, a human in a bad mood has been a survival issue for a horse. Then you trained a half-ton animal to read your face so it would not panic and trample you. Now your cat reads your face to decide whether to ignore you politely or ignore you rudely. Layer 3 is the one nobody likes. Your body language is louder than your face and older than your words. A scared animal makes itself small. Shoulders in, head down. Quick, shallow breath. Eyes darting. You do every one of these when you are afraid, without permission. Other animals do not need a translator for this. Small, low, fast-breathing, darting eyes. That is universal prey language. It predates humans by hundreds of millions of years. So when a frightened person meets a wild animal, the person is often speaking fluent prey without knowing it. And the animal is fluent too. Then reading body language wrong got you eaten. Now reading it wrong gets you a bad poker game and an empty wallet. The stakes softened. The grammar stayed. Back to the fire. The wolf has not moved. You have not moved. Let us live inside this standoff, because everything important is happening in the gap. Your fear is doing 3 things at once. It is making your sweat scream. It is making your face tighten. It is making your body shrink. The wolf is sampling all three. And the wolf is calculating something very simple. Is this thing dangerous, or is this thing dinner? Before that twist, subscribe and tell me in the comments which ancient struggle I should decode next. Here is the twist that ancient people learned the hard way. Fear pushes you toward dinner. Confidence pushes you toward dangerous. A predator does not want a fair fight. A wolf with a broken jaw starves. A lion with a cracked rib dies slow. So predators are cowards by design, and that is not an insult, that is good math. The frightened animal looks like a cheap meal. The calm animal looks like a fight that might not be worth it. Your fear is in a brutal sense an invitation. Then our ancestors figured out the counter move, and it is genius in its stupidity. You get big. You yell. You wave your arms. You lie with your whole body. Now we call that scaring off a bear by making noise and standing tall. Park rangers teach it on laminated sign. It is 40,000-year-old wisdom printed in a font. So did ancient humans know animals could read their fear? They had to. Their lives depended on it. We do not have their diaries, but we have their tools, and tools tell stories. Look at the hunting weapons. The thrown spear. The atlatl, a spear thrower that adds leverage and lets you launch a dart with shocking force from a distance. The atlatl shows up in the archaeological record at least 17,000 years ago, maybe much earlier. Why does that matter for fear? Because distance is the answer to fear. A weapon that kills from far away means you do not have to stand close to a thing that can smell your panic. You get to be afraid safely. Then inventing distance weapons meant your fear no longer doomed you. You could shake like a leaf and still land the throw. Now you call this every long-range tool we own, from the rifle to the email you were too scared to send in person. Think about the consequences of that. For most of history, courage was a physical requirement. You had to walk up to the danger. Then we built tools that let cowards win. And that changed who got to survive. You did not have to be the bravest. You had to be the cleverest about staying far away. Was that cheating? Ask the mammoth. The mammoth does not think it was cheating. The mammoth thinks it was a war crime. The mammoth is extinct. We are writing this. Tools won. Now let us flip the whole thing around, because there is a softer, stranger story hiding inside the scary one. The same fear reading that let predators hunt us is the thing that let one predator befriend us. The wolf. Picture it again. The wolf at the edge of the firelight, generation after generation, eating our scrap. The wolves that could read humans best did best. A wolf that misread a calm human as a threat ran away and missed the meal. A wolf that misread an angry human as safe got a rock to the skull. The wolves that survived near us were the wolves that read us correctly. We did not just tame wolves. We selected them for one trait above all, the ability to read us. We bred a mind reader on purpose. We just did not know that was what we were doing. Think about what that means. Every dog alive today is the descendant of the wolves that were best at sensing human emotion. At least 15,000 years, and perhaps much longer, of living beside animals that understood our moods. Generation after generation of shaping a creature whose entire job is to know how you feel. Is it any wonder your dog knows when you are sad? In 2015, a researcher named Miho Nagasawa ran a study at Azabu University in Japan. She had dogs and their owners look into each other's eyes. When they did, both the dog and the human got a spike of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the same chemical that floods a mother looking at her baby. A wolf does not do this. A wolf finds eye contact threatening. but a dog stares into your eyes and you both feel love. We did that. We built that loop, one campfire scrap at a time. So yes, animals know when you are afraid. But somewhere along the way, one of them learned to care. Now go back to the cave. Back to your terrified, sweating, prey animal body deep in human prehistory. You spent your whole life being readable. Your fear was a billboard. Every animal nearby could see it. For most of human history, that was a death sentence waiting to happen. But here is the thing nobody tells you about being readable. It cuts both ways. If your fear was visible to predators, your fear was also visible to your own people. Picture the night again. You are huddled in the dark, heart hammering, certain something is out there. And the person beside you sees it. They see your wide eyes. They smell the change in you. They feel your body go rigid. And they do not run. They reach for you. That is the other half of the story. The same fear-broadcasting body that made you prey also made you knowable to the people who loved you. A species that could not hide its fear was a species that could comfort each other's fear. How do you build trust? You have to be able to see someone's true state. You have to know when they are scared. A perfect poker face is lonely. A face that leaks fear is a face that can be held. So think about all the things that had to be true for you to be sitting here. Your ancestors had to be readable enough to be eaten and survive anyway. They had to live alongside a predator long enough to turn it into a friend. They had to feel fear sharply enough to stay alive and share it openly enough to be comforted. Every one of those traits is still in you right now. When you feel your stomach drop on a dark street, that is 100 million years of warning systems, all still firing. When your dog presses against your leg during a thunderstorm, that is 40,000 years of breeding, doing exactly what it was built to do. When a friend looks at your face and says, "Are you okay?" before you have said a word, that is the readable ape, recognizing one of its own. We never escape the fear. We just learn to share it. And here is something strange to sit with. The animals around us are still reading us every single day. The pigeon in the park that lets you walk close but flees the moment you tense up. It is running the same calculation a wolf ran 10,000 years ago. The deer that freezes when you stop moving and bolts when you reach for your phone too fast. It is reading your body, not your mind. The cat that appears the instant you are at your lowest and sits on your chest and refuses to move. Maybe it knows more than we give it credit for. We are surrounded by creatures who can feel our fear like weather. For most of them, our fear is just information, a signal to run or to hunt or to wait. But for a few of them, the ones who chose to stay close, our fear became something else. It became a reason to come closer. That is the quiet miracle buried inside a scary question. The fear that made us vulnerable is the same fear that made us reachable. You cannot have one without the other. A creature that cannot be frightened cannot be comforted. A face that hides everything connects with no one. So the next time your heart races for no reason, remember what that fear is. It is not a flaw. It is not weakness. It is the oldest, most honest thing about you. It is the part of you that has always been visible. To the wolf at the firelight. To the friend across the room. To the dog at your feet. You were never as alone in your fear as you felt. For longer than history can write down, something has always been watching you tremble in the dark. And for thousands of those years, some of them have been watching not to hunt you, but to stay. If this surprised you, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next decode. That is the whole story of being human, really. We are the animal that could not hide. And it turns out that was the best thing that ever happened to us. Because the ones who could not hide their fear found each other in the dark. and they never let go.